Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Tonight, we'll be looking at a very important topic, data-driven decision-making to enhance human resource strategies. And our facilitator for tonight is Afolabi Oluwaseun Buki. And I would like to read his profile just very briefly. Oluwaseun is a dynamic data analyst committed to driving excellence and innovation in data-driven decision-making. He has a background, including bachelor's degree in mathematics and statistics from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and a master's degree in data science from the University of Sunderland, UK, where he graduated with a distinction. He brings a blend of theoretical knowledge and practical expertise to the table. With a track record of success in leadership, data integration, machine learning, statistical analysis, Oluwaseun is dedicated to empowering teams to harness the full potential of their data. We are privileged today to have all the way from the United Kingdom sharing knowledge with us. Afolabi Oluwaseun, you have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here this evening. I know it's a Friday evening, and after the hustle buzzing of the whole week, people just want to relax on a Friday evening. We know it's weekend, but there is no time we cannot actually gain knowledge from each other, and that is why we are here this evening. And I want people to confirm if they can hear me clearly before I proceed.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So we are going to be discussing about an important topic this evening, which is titled data-driven decision making, data-driven decision making to enhance HR strategy. And also we are going to be talking about some of the data technologies that we need to at least know at the basic level to be able to get along with our work. So I just put all these concepts into 4 buckets, and it's just for us to understand what data-driven HR means, because I understand that on this call, we cannot actually go into a very granular level of this discussion. So I'm just going to be doing an overview of what data-driven HR strategy means. So we are going to be looking at data-driven HR, what it means. We are going to be looking at the importance of data in modern HR practices. And also we're going to be looking at some HR metrics and also analytics, and how we can blend both together to actually achieve our goal. And lastly, we'll be looking at some tools and technologies that we can use in data, in HR analytics. So I want you to pardon me because I'm not an HR person. I'm actually a data person, as my profile was read. But one important or interesting thing about data is you can actually find the usefulness in different fields. So this evening, we are talking about the usefulness of data in HR and how we can use that to empower ourselves as HR professionals. So I'm going to be moving, just a moment, please. So the very first thing we'll be discussing tonight is just what is HR or data-driven HR. And the definition is just simply leveraging the way we leverage data in different spheres of everything we do. Is the same way we are going to be leveraging data analytics to make informed data decision and also enhance our HR decision-making process. The structure of this discussion is for me to run through the slides. Then at the end of the slide, then we can ask our questions, which I think is okay by everyone. So that I don't deviate again, I go back to the definition of what we mean by data-driven HR. So data-driven HR, we understand that many people, when they want to make decision, they make use of their intuition, which I'm not saying that the intuition is not good or is not correct, but it's always better to make data-driven decision instead of your intuition, because your intuition-based decision sometimes might fail here. But data, evidence-based HR strategy using data without bias, because I always like to put that caveat, because not all data can be trustworthy. There's some data that are actually analyzed with the lens of biasness. So if we do that, you are not going to get the best out of the data. So that biasness must be taken out of your data to be able to get the best out of the data and be able to make an informed decision. So what are the importance of our data in our modern HR? So I've bucketed that into 4 different areas. I believe that there are more to this, but these are the 4 key areas I think we should focus on. And the very first part is why do we actually want to use data to make make informed decision? Because it's going to give us insight in what we need to do. It's going to help us achieve great insight. It's going to help us make more accurate and strategic decisions. So like I mentioned earlier, that when you use intuition, you might not be always right, but with data, you cannot go wrong. So when you want to make informed decision, always please make use of our data. And why do we also make use of data in model HR? It's just to ensure that we make our employee have the best experience. Data helps enhance employment satisfaction and engagement through targeted intervention. So what do I mean by this? So data empowers HR to make decisions that are not just reactive, but proactive as well. It allows us to predict trends, up efficiency, and also ultimately create a more productive and engaging workforce. Because as our HR professionals, one of our goals is to ensure that we make our employees happy, and they are also useful they are also useful, and their strengths are maximized always. And how do you get that done? You get that done by actually asking questions. And when you ask questions, it's not about just asking questions. You ask questions in a way that you can actually collate all these informations. So when you collate this information in a data form, then you can actually analyze and be able to get insight from this data that you've collected. And when you collect this data and you are able to analyze without bias, apologies for repeating that, without bias, you are going to understand how to make your employees happy, and also how to help them in where they are lacking. So that is why data is very useful to actually make employees experience worthwhile. Another is efficiency and productivity. How do data actually help in efficiency and productivity? We understand that we are dealing with humans, like HR, you guys deals with human beings, and you must always ensure that you get the best out of them at every time, because that is the only way the business can survive. And there's no way you want to interact with all your staffs, and you will better understand what or the issues they are actually going through. So the better thing to do is to always cultivate the habit of collating some of this information in a way that you can actually go back to and analyze. So what do I mean by this? I mean using employee survey to actually regularly conduct survey to gauge employers' employees' engagement level, and question can come from different angles. You can ask questions about job satisfaction, you can ask questions about the relationship with their managers, and even work experience, and even personal growth opportunities. You can, depending on the sector you are in, there are ways you can actually bring these are important data points out, and it helps you manage your organization in a way that everybody will feel they are important to the organization, because you are not just going to be making a general solutions for everybody. You are going to be making a tailored solution to different departments, and in the long end, the business is going to actually be the best for it. Another importance of data is it gives you competitive advantage. And what do I mean by competitive advantage in this sense? I mean, competitive advantage is when you have you understand you understand what you need to actually do to gain or attract top talents. That is what I mean by competitive advantage here. You gain, you are able to attract top talent to your organization, and not just doing that, you also be able to retain them. So data helps you understand the characteristics of top performers. And once you understand the characteristics of top performers, you can identify their key traits. What actually makes this person stand out? You can come down and ensure that you were able to put this in a form that you can now use that to create an ideal candidate profile for that position. So without data, you will not be able to get that done. So it's very important that we utilize data in everything we are doing. Another thing that can help with our competitive advantage is also employers branding. So what do I mean by employers branding? I mean, you should be able to monitor and also analyze candidate feedbacks, and not just from the one you get from your candidate that comes for interview, because you can be rest assured that they might not be able to tell you the truth because they need the favor of getting a job. So if you give them a form at that point, they might not be able to give you the right information you need to make an informed decision. So I always advise that you check review sites, job review sites, where people are free, because it's a safe space and people are free to actually tell the truth. And if you check review site and you see what are people talking about my organization, and you check social media, what are people talking about my company, then if you can make use of this two platform, it will help you get the relevant data that you can use to now create a sentiment analysis that can help identify areas that you need to improve as an organization. So it's very important that you get people to talk about their experience when they come for interviews in your organization. And like I mentioned earlier, that if you ask them to fill an interview, a survey, they are not going to tell you the truth that you want to hear. They will want to tell you what you want to hear. But when you go to a neutral platform, you should be able to get all this information in real time, and you'll be able to conduct some sentiment analysis, because this platform I'm talking about, you're not going to be able to actually pin down or develop a data structure that you think you can use to analyze the result that you want to get. So in this case, you are going to get the data in a form that is very open-ended, and it's going to be unstructured, because when you have unstructured data, there are ways you analyze that, and that was why I mentioned sentiment analysis in getting that done. So when you try to use sentiment analysis on unstructured data, then you should be able to get the best insight that you need to make adjustment in your organization. So I will now be moving to what do we understand by HR metrics and analytics. So HR metrics are just the quantitative data points that we use to measure and track our efficiency. This helps this provide insight into various aspects of workforce and HR activities. So depending on the sector you are in, there are data points that you can actually develop to be able to understand and measure or track the processes in your organization. So there is no one one cap fit all in this case, because different organizations with different needs. So you have to understand what you need to measure in your organization to be able to drive success. So the HR metrics they are enormous. There are many, but I just mentioned about 3 here, which is our time to fill, which measure the average number of days it takes to fill an open position. I talked about employee turnover rate, which calculate the percentage of employee which leave the organization with a specific period. And also, I have our training completion rate. So this track the percentage of employers who complete our training programs. So I also have more in my later slide, which I'm going to share, and also explain how they are being calculated. And if we look at our HR analytics, so HR analytics is a technique that we use to uncover insight and drive decision making. And how do we do this? There are different types of these analytics. We have the descriptive analytics, which are at time what happened. So it's always what has happened in the past. So we are just describing the data that we already got in. So we analyze it, we describe it, and we'll be able to understand what has happened in the past. Then we have predictive analytics. So this is talking about what is likely to happen, because we are trying to predict the future. From what we have from our descriptive analysis, then we can now use that as a pipeline to predict what the future can actually look like. So that is what we call a predictive analytics. And I also have a prescriptive analysis. And when you understand the past, you've been able to predict the future, then what should be done to make your prediction come to pass. So that is what we call prescriptive analysis. I'm going to talk about that in later slides. And I just want to run through some key recruitment metrics here. So what are recruitment metrics? So recruitment metrics helps HR professional like yourself to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of the hiring processes. And there are numerous metrics that can be used to actually determine the effectiveness and efficiency of hiring processes, but I'm just going to be able to measure just 3 because of our limited time that we have for this section. I'm going to be talking about time to fill, which is the average number of days it takes to fill an open position from the day the job is being posted until you get someone to accept an offer. So that is the time to fill. And if you look at the right-hand side there, you can see that I have different positions there, job positions there. Then I have the number of vacancy. Then I have another column that I have the number of days that it took to fill these positions, and we are able to calculate the time to fill in this. So the data you're looking on the screen are just fictitious data. I just generate them randomly, so it's not real. So in case you are looking at it and you're thinking that some of this information cannot be true in real life, you are correct, because the information here does not take cognizance into how each position are difficult or is there to fill. So I just generate them just to illustrate what I mean by time to fill. So if you look at this, I have column for number of vacant position and number of days to fill it. So if you look for a software engineer, we have 6 positions available, and we are able to fill the 6 positions in 88 days. Then the time to fill the position is 15 days. So how do we get the 15 days? So we divide the number of days we used to fill this position by the number of vacant position, and that is how we arrived at the number at the number 15. If we look through the same procedure was taken in calculating every other information. So if you look at this table as a whole, you will notice that the financial analyst took The financial analyst position took just 2 days to be filled. I'm not saying in reality it's easier to fill a financial analyst position, but this is just a fictitious data. And you could also notice that the customer support specialist took 49 days to fill. So as an HR person, if you are this information, it is telling you some insight that you need to pay attention to. So in this case, it means that the financial position, the financial analyst position is easier to fill. Despite the fact that we have our 9 vacant positions, we're able to fill those 9 positions in just 22 days. So it means that a role like that is easier to fill. While a role like the customer support specialist, which we filled in 49 days, is very difficult to fill. So as an HR person, you should understand that positions like that, you should have some strategy in retaining the employee in that position. And also you have some pipeline in case you want to replace such the employee is leaving and you want to replace. You understand that it's very difficult, or it takes a long time to fill that position. There must be strategy that you have put in place to ensure that the business does not suffer as you are trying to fill such a position. So that is what time to fill can actually reveal to you. So those are the kind of insight time to fill can reveal to you. So I will move to the next one, which is cost per hire. So what do you understand? What do we mean by cost per hire? So this is just the total cost incurred in hiring a new employee. Then I have another table here, which is similar to the first table. I have a number of vacancy and I have total recruiting cost. Then I have cost per hire. So if we look at this table on a whole, you will notice that the position, the least position here now per person is the first one, which is sales representative. We have 87,000. So it means that we've used 87,000 and 91 naira to fill a position, just one position of a sales representative. What does that tell you? It tells you how it's giving you insight on how much expenses you need to make to actually hire a sales representative. Then as an HR specialist, you have to actually sit and understand that what is the importance of this position to the organization. Is there a way we can actually reduce this cost of hire? Because I understand that every business wants to always minimize cost. How do we, because if we don't understand how much you hire a particular, how much you spend in hiring for a particular role, you are not going to be able to actually understand the expenses you've made and whether you need some ways to cost some excesses. You won't understand this. So that is why it's always good that you put everything down, and that is where data comes in. So when you were able to break everything down into figures like this, you will beginning to appreciate how this position, what they cost, and how difficult are these positions to be filled, and what you need to do, what strategy you need to put in place to ensure that whenever you need to fill positions like that, you're able to fill them in record time, and also you're able to spend minimal cost to fill those roles. And I'll move to applicant conversion rate. This is talking about the percentage of applicants who move from one stage of the recruitment funnel to the next. So you want to understand some information. Sorry, just a moment, please. You want to understand, yeah. So you want to understand you want to understand how difficult the some position are to be filled. And I understand, and with my little knowledge about HR, I understand that whenever you call for a job role to be filled, you receive thousands of applications, and it's always difficult to go through these applications. However, it's very important to understand the conversion rate, because it's not only just about, oh, I have just advertised this role and I've gotten 500, I've gotten 1,000 our job 1,000 applicants have submitted the CV for the particular. What are the conversion? What are the application conversion rate? That will give you understanding, and it will help you identify stages where applicant drops off and how you can actually make improvement to these stages, to make sure that the applicants also find it easier to at least move to the next stage of the recruitment process. And it also helps you also quickly or fill a particular role. So if you look at what are the information I have on the right, you see that you have number of vacant position as a column, the number of applicants. So for sales rep, 326 people have applied, and we have just 6 applicants, 6 vacancy, 6 position vacant, and 326 persons have applied. Then how many? The number of selected for interview is just 10 out of the 326 that have applied for this role. Then what is the conversion rate? What is the conversion rate for this for this position? So that is going to be number of applicants for this role divided by number of applicants for this role divided by those that have been selected for the interview. Then times 100%. That will give you the conversion rate, and that is what we've been able to do across all the positions here. And you can see that for the first one, which are statutory, which is sales rep, it shows that the conversion rate for sales rep is higher in this case, which means that the more applicants you can get more people to more people goes through the application process easily for the sales representative. When you compare that to the project manager, it's very difficult because you have just one vacant position for the project manager. 123 people has actually applied, and 13 people were selected for interview. So that is just 9% of people that applied that got to the interview stage. So which is quite low. So what has happened between the people submitting their CV and you or the HR selecting people that are that meet the criteria for the job? That phase is something that we can actually investigate, because for project management, for project manager now, is a very difficult one, because just 9% conversion rate out of 123 people that have submitted the application. What have we put in the job vacancy that is making it difficult for people to get to the app? Is it that people are not having the skill required to get on to this position? If they are not having the skill required to get into this position, what can we do to ensure that we are able to get more people that meet the requirement for this role? And because the more people that meet the requirement for this role, the better you can get the best head or the top talent to actually fill this position. So those are what this kind of information can make you think about, and you'll be able to actually understand what you need to do, the strategy you need to put in place. Do you need to actually have a pipeline of talent that you can pull from? Do you need to source from different, do you need to make your advertisement, the job or announcement in some key areas where you'll be able to attract top talent? So when you look at data like this, you'll be able to think through and understand, oh, it's not enough for me to just drop this thing on social media that, oh, I have this vacancy. Because if you drop it on social media, it's certain that many people are going to apply. But I want to get the best of the best talent. Where can I actually put this have I tried LinkedIn? What is the conversion rate on LinkedIn? Have I tried this other platform? What are the conversion rate? Then you will be able to compare the conversion rate across budget. You will be able to understand where the talent are actually available, and you will be able to ensure that that is where you focus on when you want to get some of this role filled. So I'll be talking about some key employee performance metrics now. So I will be looking at the employees' productivity. And what is employee productivity? This is just this helps us to measure the output by an employee relative to input, the time, the resources used. So we ensure that we measure the employees' productivity so we understand whether they are getting the job done. So if you look at the right side of the screen, you see the table that I've prepared. I have these are also fictitious information, fictitious data. You can see that I have 5 employees on the I have five employees in the table, and I have for the column, I have the number of hours. I have the unit produced per week. So like I mentioned earlier, so it depends on the field you are actually in. It's going to differ from the way you measure employees' productivity is going to differ from field to field. So you have to understand your field and how you actually measure this productivities. So I'm just using this as a way of illustration. So if you have a 5 employee and they worked at different hours, so the very first employee on this table have worked for 40 hours, while the second have worked for 39 hours, and it was able to produce a 551 units of whatever the unit is. Why the first employee that worked 40 hours is able to produce 536, then you should be able to calculate the employee productivity per hour, unit per hour. And how do you do this? You just calculate the unit produced per week, which is 536 in the case of the first employee. You divide that by the number of hours, which is 40, then you'll be able to get 13 units per hour. So that is what that employee have actually achieved in an hour working for the business organization. So information like this will make you indicate how efficient your employee are actually working and they are meeting the business needs. Also, I have a goal achievement rate, which is the percentage of goals that employees meet or exceed within a short period of time. So we understand that we need to set goals for our employee, and how do we actually measure whether they meet the goals or not? So the same thing, I have 5 employees here, and I've set a goal of 27 for the first employee. For the second employee is 26, while the number of what he actually achieved in real time is 22 for the first one and 18 for the second one. And I'm able to calculate the goal achievement rate, which is 22 divided by 27, and it's giving me 81. So you can see that the first employee has achieved 81% of his goal. And this helps us to reflect on how well the employee aligns with the business overall business objective, whether they are achieving their goal or not. This ensures that the HR is able to easily make decisions instead of just you looking at the real numbers. What is this person putting in? What is the output? You're able to quantify what your employees are actually doing. So when you want to make decisions for promotions, for development need, and any other thing, you'll be able to use real data, data to actually make this decision instead of just looking at people's face, or oh, this is my friend, or this person has appeared busy. Because there's some employee that will appear busy, but if you check their numbers, they're actually doing very little. So data helps you against such a scenario when you think that someone has actually performed, but the numbers are not adding up. And also, we're looking at the performance appraiser score here. So what do we mean by performance appraiser scores? So we're looking at the rating given to employer based on their performance, and it's always evaluated typically on a scale of 1 to 5. So if you look at the table I have here, the very first, I have 5 employees, and there are 4 reviewers, and each reviewer has actually graded each employee. So if you see the first employee, the first reviewer have graded him 4 out of 5. The second reviewer has actually given the maximum, which is 5. The third reviewer 4, while the last reviewer has given him 5. So if you add that together, divided by the number of people that have reviewed, in this case 4, so you have 4.5. So 4.5 over 5 is a very good score. And you can see that the last employee on this table has 5 or true, and its appraisal score is 5, which shows that he has gotten the maximum score. With trying to put all this information to data, you'll be able to actually understand what and how the employees are actually performing, instead of basing it on just your intuition. So we now move to how we utilize our HR analytics. I mentioned this briefly in the beginning of our discussion. So we are discuss about our descriptive analytics, which is we use our historical data to understand what has happened in the past within the organization. And why do we do this? Because this will give us a clear understanding of what has happened in the past. Then we can now use that to prepare for what or the future strategy should feel like. So 2 type of analytics that we can use to get this done is we can use do trend analysis, and we can also do benchmarking. So what do I mean by trend analysis? So trend analysis is just to identify patterns and trends in HR metrics. All these metrics I've been mentioning earlier, just look at those metrics. You'll be able to identify some patterns for each employees across over a long time. Then you'll be able to make some decision based on that. And we have different method we use in carrying out trend analysis. One very common method we use is using our line charts. When you have your data, you can plot your line chart to be able to see how well the line have been moving over the years. So if it's a straight line, it means that there's some form of consistency across the years. But if there's undulating, which is normal, it's just for you to see the trend and how the behavior of different to see the behavior and pattern of different trend across different metrics that I've mentioned, and even more that I've not even mentioned over the years. So that is what we use trend analysis for. And also benchmarking is just for us to compare what we are our numbers. We can use that to compare our numbers to other organizations to be able to actually understand whether we are doing well or not. So we just benchmark some of these indicators that I've mentioned, or our metrics that have HR metrics I've mentioned, benchmark it against different organizations. You can benchmark within the same field, and you can also benchmark outside the same field, depending on what you are trying to understand. Depending on what you are trying to achieve, we inform the decision of how you actually want to make this benchmark. So, and when we talk about predictive, I mentioned that we use historical data to make a decision into the future. So we have to, we make proactive decision by making anticipation future trend. Hello? Hello? I got a feedback now. Oh, wow. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Go on.
So I think your mic is mute, please.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for calling my attention to that, please. All right, so the predictive analytics is about taking up or looking at the previous events, past event, and we use that to forecast what the future events could look like. It's very important because we do not wait till when we start having our employees churn out of our organization with different, if you have been able to capture different HR metrics in the past, sometimes you'll be able to predict when a particular employee might actually leave the organization. And once that has been predicted in advance, then you can even start trying to fill that position even before the employee is dropping his organization. So that's some of the importance of data. So when you look at previous information and you can project into the past, you'll be able to see some trends, some patterns, and you'll be able to get prepared and have your strategy against what the future is going to look like. So that is why predictive analytics is very, very important, and it helps ensure that we are not left hanging whenever employees decide to leave the organization. And also, as we have understand the past, we can make use of some of this information that we've understood about what the past means to retain some of our talent. You understand, because like I mentioned at the beginning, you have frequent surveys. There are some information that the employee will give you. How well are you using this information to retain your top talent? You don't just get this survey out and once it's out, it just dies there in the Excel. No, look at the information. What are the information these employees are giving us? Whenever these employees give us this kind of information, this is what happens next. You should be able to link all this information together. And with that, you'll be able to predict that, oh, when employees are giving this kind of response, then this is likely what is going to follow through. Okay, you can now put your strategy around that. Okay, in the event that things like this happen, because it has happened in the past that when we get feedback like this, or when employees complain about things like this is the next thing that can happen. That is a trend already, and you've been able to identify many of that over the years. So it's easier for you. It will just be as if, are you a winch? How do you know that this is what is going to happen? It's what the data have said. The data is sitting down there. We've looked at the data, we've analyzed the data, and we've been able to actually link this information up. Because another thing about data is they don't just come in isolation. You must be able to actually cross-examine some of this information to be able to understand, because people believe that, oh, once I collect this survey data, that is the end. You might collect survey data and also collect information or another set of data from our job site or from the internet about the organization and be able to do some merging of this data together, and you'll be able to actually see that, oh, this is where the problem is coming from, because the information we got here, this is what the trend looks like, and the one we got on the internet or from the website or job platform, this is what it means. And from that, we can actually pitch one or two things together and understand why a particular event is actually happening at a particular time. So that is why when you take your data from the descriptive, you understand what happened, you should be able to make different data together, look at the trend, and be able to predict what the future is going to look like. So what I'm trying to explain in essence is when you have your HR metrics, don't just take them in isolation. ensure that you are able to cross-examine them and to make more sense and meaningful information. Then we move to, Then we move to prescriptive. So this prescriptive is goes beyond just predicting. So like I mentioned, there are three analytics. I've talked about the descriptive, I've talked about the predictive. Now we are talking about the prescriptive, which goes just beyond predicting, like predictive analytics. It's not going to be predicting the outcome alone. It's also going to be able to recommend specific action to be achieved to achieve desired result. So we are not just sitting or we are not just describing what the data in the past means. We are not just prescribing. We are not just prescribing what they. Okay. So we are not just prescribing what the data in the. Sorry. So we are not just looking at what the data in the past is saying. We are not just predicting what the future is also going to look like. We are also recommending specific action to achieve our desired result. The important here is to ensure that we have actionable insight and recommendation to optimize our processes. So you can see how the three is merging together. One is talking about what happened in the past. One is talking about what is going to happen in the future, or what is likely to happen in the future, while the third one is talking of what we need to do to ensure that what we've predicted that is going to happen in the future is going to actually happen in the future. So these three analytics are very important, and we have to actually ensure that we harmonize both the three analytics to ensure that we are able to achieve our organization aim. Then we move to the tools and our technologies. So this is another important aspect of the whole discussion of data, because when you have your data, you've collected your survey, you've gotten your data from the website, like I have been talking about, how do you actually visualize, how do you actually make sense out of this data? You have to do that by using different tools. For the purpose of this discussion, I've only limited to these two. The very first one is data analytics tool, while the second one is the advanced analytics technique. So these are actually big platforms or a comprehensive power suite, data suite that can be used for analysis. But for the first part, which is data visualization tool, we can all have access to this. So why do we need this? These tools allow us to create virtual representations of data to identify trends, pattern, and insights. It's very important because it makes us understand and communicate complex data through visuals. So when we get all this complex data that I've been talking about, that you're picking from different areas, how do we actually put them together and we are able to present to even people that don't even understand what we are doing, and they will be able to understand the information that we are trying to pass. So it's very important that we work with our data visualization tools. And I've given some example of the data visualization tools down here. The very first one here is Tableau. It's a very powerful tool. It's an online, you can get Tableau online. You don't need to make any payment to use that. Just register on the platform and you'll be able to use the Tableau. You can use it online. You can also download the desktop version. Want to use it offline, you can download the desktop. It's very powerful tools, and you'll be able to get different visualization that you can use to communicate what the data is actually saying. Another is Power BI, so which is a business analytic tool that provides data visualizations tool, just like Tableau. and it helps with business intelligence and capability. It integrates different seamless with other Microsoft package because Power BI.
Hello. Hello. Sorry, you've stopped sharing your slide. Was that intentional or you're not aware?
I'm not aware. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay, can you see that now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for calling my attention to that. All right. So the third one is Excel, which I believe that everybody in the room understand and knows what Excel is. So Excel is another powerful tools that we can use, very robust our data analysis, our tool that we can use for our visualization and also our modeling. You need to model all this information from different platform. We can use Excel to bring them together and also make some insightful visualization that is going to help the organization understand what the data is all about and how to make some preparation in case of some eventuality. And also the advanced analytic tools, these ones you need to actually pay for to use those platforms. They are mostly cloud-based. You can see that the very first one I have here is the SAP. I want to believe that many people know SAP is a cloud-based HR management software that offers suite of application for core HR. So you can use that in talent management, your analytics, and every information, your data, or the description, prescription, and the prediction, everything in one. You can use your SAP for that. So like the one I mentioned earlier, the Tableau, Power BI, and Excel, you can also use that to a very large extent to get all these out information and insight out. But these are, you cannot compare them to these advanced analytics. Even now, they are now incorporating some AI intelligence into it that you don't even need to be skillful in terms of using this platform. You can use the AI, just your normal natural language, to actually make sense out of some of this information. And also some example of the advanced analytic platform, you can see Oracle HSAM and also Workday. They unify all I've been saying, and also they unify some department into one. Like Workday, where I work, we use Workday for most of our the processes in the organization, from finance to HR. Everything is just on Workday. It's just on one platform. It's a suite that you can just use to ensure. And as workers are making their use of the platform, it's also generating some insight for the management. Even without, just set it up and you get all this insight whenever you, like I mentioned earlier, that you need to put information together to be able to understand when an employee might want to leave the organization. But with softwares like this, they already, once set up properly, they already give you that insight already on this is likely to happen, this is what you should prepare for, and things like that. So they are very powerful tools, but they don't come cheap. They don't come cheap, but depending on the organization, some organization actually invest heavily in what's it called, in softwares like this, which make the work of HR very easy. And I think just a moment, please. So I think that should be the last slide, and I will want to take some few questions before we call it a day, please. Hello, do we have any question? Hello, can anyone hear me?
Can hear you, sir. Hello, can hear you, sir.
All right. Do anyone have any question?
Okay, good evening, sir. I don't know if you can hear me, sir.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate that section. Sorry for the network glitch. It's been happening everywhere. So from your end, I don't know, in case anybody attends an interview and the interviewer is asking, how can you make a database decision and how can you come up with it? What do you think we can answer this question? Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so to answer that question, if you go for an interview and you are asked how can you make a data driven decision, it's very simple. I have mentioned many of an example you can actually give. So you can start from, you can actually cultivate the habit of conducting regular employee survey, just to understand how the employee feel about the organization, how do they feel about the manager, how do they feel about the job, how happy are they doing their job. If you get that every month, if you take that and ensure that all the employees fill that form every month, the survey form every month. By the time the year is ending, if you start in January and by the time it's December and you analyze the data that you've collected over the month, you start to see whether the employee are happy working for the organization or not. So that is one way to make a data-driven decision. And as an HR, if you can cultivate that habit, you will be able to actually nip in the bud when things are going wrong in the organization. Because when people are having issues with their managers, for example, they might not be bold to walk up to the HR to report the manager because they know what that means. But if you have the habit of collecting this information, and when you collect information like this, you make it very anonymous so that people can be free to actually express what they have in mind. You make it anonymous. You don't know who have actually said what. So, but your own is, I want to actually get the feel of people working in my organization. People working in this business, how do they feel about working in the business? Like I said, when it comes to data, you don't need to make it cumbersome. You might just focus on one particular thing. That this is what I want to understand. Are people actually happy working in this organization? Then get that information consistently, and you will be able to see a pattern whether people are actually happy. Then when you get that information, you can now furthermore and ask further questions in another survey to understand what can be done. For example, if the first survey has said people are not happy working with the organization, or people are not actually working with a particular manager, or people are not actually happy working with a particular process in the organization, then you can further with another question, what can be done, what is the expectation? And when you analyze this, you might start seeing, oh, I think this is the collective reasoning of people working in this organization. How can the management now meet them at that point that is not going to jeopardize the objective of the business? Then if you try to do that, you understand that you will have a very healthy and happy employer, and the business, because once you have a very happy workforce, then you should be rest assured that the business goal and activity is going to run smoothly. I don't know if that answers your questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Any other question?
Good evening, sir.
All right.
How are you doing, sir? Thank you so much
Very
for
well.
your presentation.
You
For blue collar employees,
okay?
how can you apply such theories or such things you've mentioned today for blue collar? From what we can see, most of these things can apply more for white collar employees. For blue collar, like the factory workers, how can you apply such? How
Yes,
can you?
so like I mentioned, that you have to understand the field or the sector you actually play in. When you understand the sector you play in, then you will be able to actually know how to make this application. So for example, for blue collars, you understand that people that work in the blue collar, I might be wrong. They might not be technological savvy. So when you say you want to share survey with them or things like that, they might not really understand how to go about it. But you must be very strategic as an HR person to get this information, because you know that that is what you need to ensure that everybody is working in harmony. So how do you do that? On top of my head, I might just decide to tie it to a particular thing that I know that they want to do. So I might say, oh, if you want to get this, you will need to fill this survey for me. And you know that they might not be able to do that, maybe because of the kind of phone they use or things like that. What can you do? I can actually get the form and get someone, maybe within the organization, to just ask those questions. Ask those questions, because it will now means how the question is going to be worded so that they can actually give you what you actually need to hear and not what they want you to hear. So that is one way I can think of it, that can I get someone that can just meet with these people and just get this information and key it into a survey software that we already prepared, because we know that these people might not be able to get this done. Because the goal is to ensure that you understand the mindset, because that is the goal of the data you are collecting. The end product of every data you collect for as an HR person is to understand the mindset and how to make your employees happy to keep coming. Why do I want to come to work the next day? Something must be very interesting for me to come to work the next day. And what is that thing? I must be able to identify that. No matter how difficult the terrain may be, I must find a means to get those information, to extract those information from the people that we work together, so that I can be able to position some of the strategy or processes in their favor, because that is the main thing, or that is the work of an HR. So you guys are people, you are people's people, like the way I call you. You guys are the people's people. We want to talk about the organization, you want to talk about your man, you're still going to come to the HR to discuss all this information. So these are ways you can actually, depending on the field you find yourself, whether the white collar, whether the blue collar, you just need to think outside the box. How do I get this done? Should I put an incentive? Because you know that that's another thing that motivates people. Oh, if you can fill this form, you are going to get some so. You'll be amazed how people will be fighting to fill that form, because you want to get the data. And like I said, you don't just get it one-off and dump it. You get it over the. So even if people have lied to you in the first month, when you ask those questions again in the second month, the third month, you will see a trend. They can't keep lying for 12 months. They can't keep lying for 2 years. You will see a trend that will be able to now determine that this is what the issue is, and this is how we need to address it. I don't know if that answers your question.
That's fine. Thank you so much. You have given me another line of thought. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any other question before we go? Okay. So I think there's no more question. So at this point, we can call it a day. Thank you guys for showing up and out of the busy schedule and getting to prepare for weekend, you're still able to show up for this presentation. I appreciate that, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. So let's have a good weekend and let's enjoy ourselves. Thank you for coming. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Have
Thank
a
you
good
so
night.
much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
God bless you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.